welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson. Wow, what a delight to have with us today. Megan Barth, she is the founder and the proprietor of ReaganBaby.com. I want to find out more about that. She's nationally recognized as a political commentator and women's advocate. Perhaps you've caught her on some of the other shows. And we have a lot to talk to her about today. So, Megan, good to see you. Hi, thanks for being with us.
Harry, thanks so much for having me.
Hey, before we get into it, ReaganBaby.com, tell us about it.
Well, I launched my website earlier this year, and I grew up under Reagan. I had an I Heart Reagan bumper sticker on my bedroom door, as one of my girlfriends had reminded me. And I grew up in a family that was a middle-class Midwestern family. And every Sunday after church, we'd get together at my Aunt Nan's house or my grandmother's house. And I was exposed to politics and policy at a very young age. It turned into kind of a crossfire, if you will, around the table with everyone discussing, the years of Carter. I remember the malaise quite well. I didn't really understand what was going on. I was too young. But kids get a sense of what's going on, that your family is struggling, that your neighbors are struggling. There was just a sense of, like I said, malaise. And when Reagan came on the scene and started campaigning, I noticed that everyone would stop and listen. And when they turn off the TV, they had kind of a spring in their step and a hope that I really hadn't sensed or had seen before. And that's kind of the genesis of my start really into politics, or at least the awareness of policy at a very young age. And I put my passion into my writing, into my blog at ReaganBaby.com, and here we are today.
Okay, thank you so much. And by the way, it is ReaganBaby.com. Check it out. We got a lot to talk to you about, and of course the big discussion now is the unprecedented rise and continue high rise of Donald Trump in this race. But coming out of the debate, Fox debate, it appears maybe the war on women accelerated as a result of his comments. What's your take on him?
Well, my take on him, I write about this, especially about the debate on ReaganBaby.com called The Teflon Don Gets a Rise. And Donald Trump is a phenomenon. He is interesting in that he is Teflon. No matter what he says, his poll numbers don't reflect what all the pundits and the people in the Beltway expect his poll numbers to do, which is drop. They keep rising. He has a style, which is his brand. It has been his brand since he has been a businessman and a TV celebrity, which he is direct. He shoots from the cuff. He doesn't mince words. He is the CEO, basically the owner of a global brand and a artful negotiator. He's, like I said, he speaks from the cuff and he does not apologize. He's definitely tapped into the anger of the American voter, specifically when the voters gave the GOP the largest congressional majority since World War II. They did that because they were made promises by the candidates and the GOP, promises like repeal Obamacare, stop executive amnesty, stop the out-of-control spending. And the very first thing the GOP did was hand Obama omnibus in December of last year, which funded and implemented Obamacare. So there we have a strike one. We have a broken promise. Then they don't stop amnesty. They continue to fund this out-of-control government. So the voters were betrayed by the Beltway. His numbers reflect this anger and this Beltway betrayal. People are looking for someone outside of the political class, and you see that in the polling numbers, not only of Trump, you see it in Fiorina, you see it in Cruz, and you see it in Carson. They're all in the top 6 or 7.
All right, you bring up some good things here, because I've always said I think that this whole phenomenon, as you put it with Donald Trump, is a rejection vote of the establishment, especially the Republican establishment and the Beltway, as you put it, and I think you're spot on with that. The question is, can he ride it all the way to the nomination? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Did you happen to catch his interview last night on Sean Hannity?
I sure did, and it's interesting. I was talking to Bellingham, Washington, a radio show with Dylan Honcoop, and I was telling him yesterday morning because he was concerned about the substance behind Trump, and that is a concern. Part of a brand, how people attach themselves to someone, whether it be a politician or even a product, is that they have a sense that the good or the person is going to deliver on their promise, and this good or this person has established trust. So one thing that Donald has to do is talk about policy and talk about solutions, specific solutions to illegal immigration, how he's going to make Mexico pay for the wall, health care, ISIS, all of these issues that are so incredibly important right now and issues that he has raised. I told yesterday on the radio that he is going to have to talk about specific solutions. And on Hannity, he started to touch on that. He's an interesting candidate in that he doesn't have a policy advisor. He doesn't have a communications advisor. He doesn't have the normal advisement that a political or a politico would normally have. So he is putting together his message related to those solutions and policy, and he did touch that on those on Hannity last night, but he's going to have to, and this is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. He has a long time to unveil his policies. Hillary Clinton has not even detailed how she's going to handle ISIS.
All right, I want to come back to something he said last night because it plays off what happened during the debate when he took on Megyn Kelly, and he also certainly disrespected Rosie O'Donnell. And it seemed to accelerate the war on women as being criticized as a problem on the right. Then he goes into the interview last night with Sean Hannity, comes to the subject of Planned Parenthood, and there was a huge thing there for me because what I was sensing he was saying is, man, I'm against abortion, but I'm for Planned Parenthood. Was that an olive branch back to women because of the thing that happened to him on the debate?
Perhaps you could perhaps read that into it. Planned Parenthood, does supposedly provide women's health services outside of abortion, but they certainly should not be funded to $500 billion to perform abortion services. So defunding is definitely on the table, and we're talking about it. We'll have to see where his position really concretely stands. I don't have a sense from that interview with Hannity last night on what exactly, and I don't know if he really understands how many services or lack thereof that is provided. I think the investigations that are ongoing within a handful of states for Planned Parenthood is going to give us a sense of exactly what's going on in that taxpayer-funded organization.
I was surprised that Sean didn't call him on it, but let me ask you this. Do you think he has a problem with women? I mean, as far as his comments? I mean, how does he get away with this?
I wrote about this on ReaganBaby.com as far as how women vote. And women vote for a leader they can trust. Women are going to have to be able to trust Donald Trump to deliver on the solutions that he promises. We do vote altruistically on certain issues, but women are the breadwinners of certain families. They're the household managers of certain families, whether they're single or married. We vote also with our pocketbook. We understand that we have $19 trillion of debt that is growing. We see the prices of groceries. We see the prices of gas. We understand what a education costs for our children. These are issues that are of utmost concern for us. I think when I watched the debate, I thought that the first question was excellent because it would separate him from the pack to see where exactly he stands and kind of either confirm or quash the rumors that he would run third party. I did not appreciate the second question. The second question is a war on women narrative. It is a false narrative that was established by the left in order to vilify the right. The left's main concern, of course, is abortion and wedge issues. And they turned that on the right with Mitt Romney, and they will continue to do so. So I understand the tactic of the question. I really didn't understand why, as a second question, we needed to introduce Rosie O'Donnell into the debate. The real war on women, now that they're using war on women as a talking point, whether it's from the right or the left, can be turned back at the left. And the originator of the war on women, who actually had a war room, was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton vilified, publicly humiliated, and disgraced the victims of her husband, and did so purposely and tactfully. So if we're going to treat candidates on an equal playing field, this war on women history that she has and is well documented should be thrown back in Hillary's lap.
Do you think, before I take a quick break, I only got about a minute here before we do you think Trump can be stopped?
I think Trump can be stopped on his own accord, meaning he's going to either trip himself up, whether it's something that he says that he will have to respond for or apologize for, because he's not one to apologize. But the only person that's going to be able to stop Trump is Trump.
Okay, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. And Megan Barth is with us today. And by the way, it's ReaganBaby.com. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're delighted to be back with our special guest today, Megan Barth. She is the founder of ReaganBaby.com, a great resource. You may want to check it out in her blogs and her writings. And Megan, you mentioned earlier, and I think you're spot on, that with the rise of Trump, it may be a rejection vote of the establishment, the Beltway, but also rising is Carly Fiorina, you've got Ted Cruz, you got Marco Rubio. Now they are part of the Beltway. Then you got Dr. Carson. All of these boats seem to be rising, and I think the reason Cruz and maybe Rubio are in there is because they are fighting against the leadership. So there seems to be something going on here. What do you think of Carly Fiorina?
Carly Fiorina, I wrote about her on ReaganBaby.com in my last post, Why Not Carly? Prior to the debate, I said that she would be probably the dark horse that rises. I have followed Carly since she ran for Senate in California. I used to live in California and voted for Carly. She delivers a strong, impactful message. She also was a CEO, so she is a good negotiator. She understands business. She has a global reach. She has contacts with our Middle Eastern allies. And her debate, she knocked it out of the park. It was very good for her. And the problem with Carly Fiorina prior to the debate, as I mentioned on Reagan Baby, was that her brand, her name was not a nationally recognized name. In California, of course, we all knew her, but she needed to raise awareness. And if she shared the same stage with Trump and the 9 other men, she would have been a shadow. She would not have had the opportunity or the time to really introduce voters to who she is and what she stands for. So she skyrocketed, and now she's, I think, number 5 or 6, depending on the poll. So we'll definitely see her on a national stage in prime time. I like Carly. I haven't really heard anything that she said, even since she campaigned in the Senate, that I necessarily disagree with. I mean, there's certain things, obviously, little things, but foreign policy, to me, she has a very strong grasp of it, and she's spot on.
All right, so she most likely will be in the top tier coming up September 16th at the Reagan Library for that debate, sponsored by CNN. It's going to be interesting to see her and Trump on the same stage.
I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. They're similar in a lot of ways, but no one is like Trump. But you know, they're very you know, they're skilled negotiators. They have a very strong business acumen. They can complement each other in a lot of ways. However, I also think that they're going to butt heads.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how Trump responds to that. Dr. Ben Carson, I've had the opportunity to interview him on several occasions. Fascinating guy. He was being interviewed by CNN a couple of days ago and handled that pressure extremely well. What do you think?
I really just admire Dr. Ben Carson. I have been reading about him, and you know, one thing that really that primetime debate with Fox, once we got past the complete war on women issue, I was really looking for some substance and some substantive questions on where the candidates stand. And I thought there would be a question on Obamacare sent to Dr. Ben Carson, and there wasn't. His tax plan is strong. I like it. And I also was hoping that he would get a question on education, because not many people know that he and his wife run one of the largest educational foundations in the country. So he understands a lot of issues outside of medicine, and he is a brilliant man. He is a soft-spoken man. He is the opposite of Trump, and he talks about wisdom, and there is definitely wisdom missing in D.C.
Okay. I would assume we're going to start seeing some thinning out. I would see the Rand Paul probably will run out of money. I don't see Chris Christie's going to go anywhere. Jim Gilmore, nice guy. I've been with him on many occasions when I was with the RNC, and I can tell you that he just got in it too late. He can't get any traction. At the end of the day, these people need to start raising some serious money to stay alive. So do you think by the end of September 16 we'll see some thinning out?
I think we will. And isn't it surprising that Perry kind of took a dive? You know, we don't talk about Rick Perry anymore. I think there was a lot of stake put into Rick Perry at the beginning of this race. You know, we'll see where he goes. He's having trouble raising money as well. So, you know, money, of course, is the issue. And I think by September 16th, Lindsey Graham, I think, is going to ultimately drop out. I don't know that. I think Lindsey took the stage on the debate because he wanted to inform the American people just how dangerous and serious the Middle East is right now. You know, ISIS is not a JV team. We are electing a commander-in-chief. This issue, foreign policy outside of the economy, are two of the main issues that should be our concern, and obviously our debt.
All right, because Perry, it looks like Jindal, we got Paul, Christie, Gilmore, and others. They're just not going to get the traction right now. They seem like they're fading fast. Let me turn the tables real quick. As of last night, it looks like Hillary's in serious trouble. I mean, hey, the president could pull back the DOJ and the FBI. He's not. It appears to me that this is Obama's chance to turn her light out. Do you think that's happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's happening. There's no love lost between the Obamas and the Clintons. I think that Hillary was given the SOS job, the Secretary of State job, as kind of an appeasement and an olive branch, if you will. The question I've always asked, and I haven't heard asked, and I would assume that Gowdy might ask this question because he's a tough prosecutor, I like the guy, is if she wasn't using her own private server to receive or transmit classified emails, which we know that she got because of her position, what server was she using? Yeah.
Duh.
Can someone please tell me what if she was receiving, not if, she was receiving classified information. Any Secretary of State, hopefully, would receive classified information. So what server was she using? We've already identified now at least 2 emails out of 10 that were the second tier of classification, high security, top secret classification. So she's in violation there. We're receiving more and more emails on Benghazi, which supposedly she already turned over. So this discovery process is still going on. She's supposed to appear one time in October in front of Trey Gowdy and the special committee on Benghazi. So there are a whole host of questions. We've caught her in lies. She has lied to the public, and worse than that, she has put perhaps classified and top secret information on an unsecure server, which could end up and may have ended up in the wrong hands and in our enemies' hands.
Yeah, not to mention these stick drives that maybe even some of her staff member has that has that kind of information on it. So this is really interesting, but the president doesn't seem to have any reservation by letting the Department of Justice and the FBI go after her, which only sets up a Joe Biden draft.
Yeah, I'm not, Bernie is rising. That's not surprising. But the Democrats are in a real pickle. They want to talk about how much turmoil we have going on in the GOP. We've got 17 people that are very diverse, very talented, and have a lot to say. I think they might have 5, 2 with name recognition and who are socialists. They cannot run a socialist under the DNC, or then they basically have lifted up their skirt and exposed themselves of who they are, meaning that the progressive hard left has taken over the DNC, the once party of Kennedy. So they're going to have to look for a moderate Democrat, and that moderate Democrat, I assume, will be Biden, considering he's so quiet. But it definitely will not be Kerry, particularly after Schumer came out against the Iran deal.
Well, this is just fascinating. You're a tremendous resource. I look forward to talking to you a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Perry. This has been a pleasure. It was a nice first chance to talk to you.
I just want our viewers and listeners to check it out, ReaganBaby.com. And you can correspond with Megan there, and we look forward to many more. This is fascinating. We've got a ways to go, but on the other hand, things got to heat up pretty quick. I mean, the primary season's right there at the beginning of the year, so we would have got 4 months for this thing to really kind of heat up.
Yeah, we do, and I'm really looking forward to this, specifically after the, this first debate. I gotta say, I wasn't a huge fan, but 24 million people tuned in, and again, I will give credit to Trump for that. To have 24 million people tune into a presidential debate is unprecedented. We kind of have to ask ourselves, if Trump wasn't in the race, we'll assume that Jeb Bush would be leading, considering he was leading at the time at about number 2 with 15% or so of the vote. He doesn't spark that much excitement. Trump has sparked the excitement of the American voter. This is what the GOP needs. Whether or not he's the nominee, we know that people are paying attention and people are looking for solutions that the current political class and the Washington Beltway is simply not providing.
You're spot on with that. And even though Jeb has $100 million plus, he doesn't seem to be getting the traction. He's obviously representing the establishment, the very thing that people are now rebelling against. What do you think about Jeb? Do you think he's got a chance?
No. And I say that because I'm looking at the polls. I'm listening. I talk a lot. I talk a lot on radio. I talk a lot on TV. I'm a political hound. No, there's too many players in the mix that aren't Jeb Bush that have a better message than Jeb Bush. I don't think he's a bad guy. I just think that people are tired of legacies. We've had the Clintons. We've had the Bushes. We have $20 trillion in debt. We need somebody to fix what is wrong in D.C., and that's what people are looking for. People are going to vote with their pocketbooks this time around because of Obamacare, and we haven't seen anything yet with Obamacare. Obamacare really kicks in 2016. So when that kicks in 2016, we're going to have a lot more people voting with their pocketbook because their costs are going to skyrocket, and they'll lose their employer insurance, perhaps.
Yeah. Megan, again, you're a delight. Thank you. Look forward to many more times together. And again, ReaganBaby.com. Check it out. Take care and stay on top of it. Look forward to connecting with you soon.
Very good, Perry. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Welcome back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts. We have him back. Yes, he is the judge of all things, the discerner of truth and evil, the conveyor of religious political correctness, and he's the host of Wretched TV and radio. Here he is, Mr. Todd Friel. Hi, buddy.
I'm the Pope? What was that introduction? That was a little overblown, don't you think?
Well, I'm just trying to see if you're awake.
Well, I am.
How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
I'm doing great. Hey, can I share something with you before we go?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I'm staying in a hotel. Hold on, I'll come back. I'm staying in a hotel, which is the only reason that I read USA Today. I don't know if you can see this. It is actually a review of a brand new Broadway musical based on the life of John Newton. Oh. It's not a spoof. It's not a satire. Do you see right there? He's singing and dressed up like John Newton would be dressed up. And this was a review, and it was a pretty straightforward review because the musical itself is basically biographical. Perry, I read the most interesting quote. I want to share this with you. Sneer, laugh if you must, but it could be argued that in 2015, on Broadway, it's more irreverent to promote such beliefs than it is to satirize their practice. Huh? I thought that was a staggering insight. Years ago, even a decade ago, what would have been edgy and cool on Broadway would be to make fun of Christians. Yeah. Now what's edgy is to present Christianity in a true historical light. That's more offensive today. I thought that was staggering.
Progress, man.
Well, if you mark progress by going backwards, you are correct, sir.
Back to the future. Well, listen, we got some good things to get into today. And, I was trying to figure out how to ask you the beginning question. I can't really seem to formulate it in my mind because we want to deal with, as Christians, we are never to judge. But I'm wondering if we're being intimidated by political correctness by using our own words to do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
these days, when it comes to the issue of judging, there is like just two ditches that we fall in. One, and the first ditch would be, judge not, lest you be judged. Now, that's a Bible verse that we would expect unbelievers to misquote, but even Christians use that to drub anyone who says, I don't think that was right. So the question is, what was Jesus saying when he said, judge not, lest you be judged? Well, first of all, judge not, lest you be judged is a judgment statement. So he couldn't have been outlawing all judging. Furthermore, just a few verses down, he starts judging people. So he can't be saying that we can never judge. Furthermore, it would be impractical to never judge. You could never go to Taco Bell and actually determine what you want to eat if you can never judge anything. So what was Jesus getting at? He was saying, judge, and by the way, like he also says in John, I believe, chapter 7, judge with righteous judgment. We are to be discerners. Think about the book of 2 Peter chapter 2. It's all about judging false teachers. The entire book of Jude is about judging false teachers. We're supposed to judge. We are supposed to judge one another, but not snooty tooty. Oh, so Perry thinks that it would be a good idea to vote for Donald Trump, does he? No, that's not how we're supposed to judge. We're supposed to judge biblically, lovingly, taking the beam out of our own eye, approaching things humbly, because the desire is to actually correct lovingly and not just rub somebody.
But that term has been shoved down our throat to neutralize us to accept everything.
Yeah, you know, there's some pithy responses. You could simply say, are you judging me? Because, you know, that's ultimately what they're doing. These days, it's increasingly hard. You know, the attention span of a human being on our planet, thanks to Vines, thanks to videos, 6-7 seconds. So it's kind of hard to open up Matthew 7 and explain what Jesus was and wasn't saying. But we do have to instruct, we have to teach people. And if somebody's not going to even have a conversation allowing you to make any sort of judgment calls, you're probably not engaged in the right conversation.
What's the right motive when judging? What should be the right motive when judging?
To feel better about yourself. Is that wrong? Wait, hold on.
Yeah, to elevate yourself.
No, it's not. It's to make sure that the truth is upheld. That's what. Actually, there's a lot of things that are involved with judging. I always think of 3 issues that are at stake when it comes to judging and confrontation and discussing differences of opinion. Number 1, this is about a love for the truth. What is right? What is wrong? God is truth. That's what he is. He doesn't write truth and then adhere to that standard. He actually is truth. So truth is important to him. So if we love truth, we're going to talk about issues and defend it. But second, if we love God, who is truth, we are going to defend truth because we want to make sure that he is portrayed and displayed correctly. But third, Perry, and this is, I think, one that we forget about, which really is the thing that should drive our motive and how we talk about these issues. I have a love for people. I have a love for that person that I'm talking to. I don't want them to be wrong. I don't want them to go to hell. So I'm motivated by those 3 things. Underlying it all is compassion.
All right. Part of this equation, Todd, when we are judging, are we judging prematurely without taking time to discern?
Oh, wow. Ready, fire, aim! That's what we do all the time. We just... And a lot of it is based on our opinion of the person. Let's take Donald Trump. Please, let's take Donald Trump for an example. He just was saying something about, we all heard the comment about Megyn Kelly. He said something, he was in an interview and he said, Megyn Kelly was so upset she had blood coming out of her eyes or something, and then he went on to talk. Well, people thought that he was making a very crude, inappropriate remark, and Donald Trump's response was, no, I wasn't. I was just like, let's move on to the conversation. So blood is coming out of something, let's go. And that was his explanation. Now, the question for the Christian is, do I accept that explanation or not? And this has huge implications for us as parents. My opinion about Donald Trump is probably going to determine if I buy his defense or not. Do I like him? Do I think that he's too snarky? I love his policies, the whole immigration thing. We need a fresh breath of air in Washington. Now the guy's just a windbag. That will determine whether or not I judge his defense of himself to be valid or not. And as a Christian, I run to 1 Corinthians 13, which tells me I'm going to believe all things, hope all things, trust all things. Now, I grant you that's for Christians, but I think the application is even for unbelievers. I want that to be true. I desire for that to be true. I don't want Donald Trump to be a lout. I want it to be true, so I accept his explanation. Unless I'm giving compelling evidence to the contrary, I accept it, believing all things, hoping for the best, and moving on. Now, Perry, tell me that doesn't have application for our kids. When our children do something, we have a tendency to judge them based on their reputation. Now, I grant you, if the child says, I didn't eat the Hershey bar, and he's got chocolate smudged all over his face, okay. But if your child is telling you something, we hope it's true, even as we investigate whether it is indeed the truth.
What about prove all things?
Oh, sure. That we do want to do that because we want to get to the truth. But there's a difference of, come on, tell me the truth, you little chocolate thief, tell me. Okay, that's because I know you did that. That's That impression was pretty good because I practiced that over the years.
You got one at home.
Okay, that's different than, honey, God is truth, and we want to make sure that we are never lying or even shading the truth on anything. So let's talk about this another time, okay, honey? Because I want to believe you, but you got chocolate all over your face. So let's talk about it. It's just my attitude that I engage with.
All right. Let me take a break here. When we come back, we're in this political hot season, Todd. And why can't we judge what we're listening? Why can't we look at this? And the other thing is, there's got to be some discernment. Now, as a guy who ran the Oregon Republican Party for 4 years, I have some political discernment. Okay? And I can use that political discernment to judge the motive of what's being said by some of these candidates. Is that okay? Okay, hold on to that look. We'll be right back with Todd Friel. Check it out, Wretched TV. He's the man.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Hi, welcome back, and what a delight always to have with us Todd Friel. He's the host of Wretched TV, Wretched Radio. In fact, Wretched TV prime time right here on the Dove TV network, and turned out to be a good friend. We really appreciate what he does, and one of the great apologists of our day. We're talking about judging, and I just think this is a fascinating topic because as Christians, we're told by non-Christians we're not to do it. You know, that we pretty much cow down to that. And you very succinctly bring in discernment. We got to have discernment when we do this. But we're in the heat of this political season, and is it okay to judge these guys? And these guys?
Absolutely. And two, I think we need to start with an understanding of what discernment is biblically. This is what discernment is not. You know, I just have a feeling that you're going to marry that nice girl who's in the junior high class. I've got the gift of discernment. Okay, that's not discernment. You can have a feeling, but that is not discernment, sensing that, you know, I just have a feeling that something bad is going to happen on this trip. Well, that's a feeling, but that's not the biblical gift of discernment. Discernment is gray matter being applied to a situation. And it's determining these days, not between true and false, but determining the difference between true and the almost true. That's the gift of discernment, taking my wisdom, whether it's biblical, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whatever the issue is, and applying it rightly to the situation. And we, of all people, should be the best discerners there are. We shouldn't shy away from it. It always gets me when I see Christians holding conferences where they bring in unbelievers to teach us about, well, virtually anything. It's like, are you kidding me? They should be coming to us to say, how do you do that? We are the people who should be the best judgers, the best discerners of all, because we're the ones who have truth.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because let's go to Donald Trump. He's the hot potato right now, and I watched him last night. I watched him last night on Sean Hannity, and my discernment rose pretty high quickly by some of the things he was saying and by some of the things he was succinctly not saying. What's your take on him? Is he for real? Is he psychopathic? Is he pathological? Is he crazy? How are you judging it?
Donald Trump is certainly an interesting guy. I don't know that he's been, we've seen enough of the Don to really know what's going on. I get the sense that there's not a whole lot of depth behind a lot of the shocking things that he says. But I think there's something kind of interesting about the response to Donald Trump that is a bit telling and maybe instructive even for pastors. Perry, why do you think Donald Trump is resonating and leading the pack right now?
Well, My political discernment tells me that he is representing a rejection of the Beltway and the establishment within the Republican Party. In other words, the country's in a mess, and quite frankly, the Republican leadership now has allowed it. And so he is representing a rejection. He's a non-politician coming at it from a business sense, and he's resonating with a lot of people.
Do you think that a part of his charm and appeal is the way that he's talking?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's talking tough. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I wonder if there isn't a hunger in our country for cutting through the fog and just getting to it. And as I ponder that, I think to myself, is that maybe telling for Christians, not in every circumstance, but that we've got a culture, we've got a world that is just tired of being fed bologna sandwiches, and they would just like to hear the truth, and maybe they actually are interested in hearing us say, no, Jesus actually is the only true and living God, and here's my defense of it. I wonder if we haven't maybe bowed to political correctness and postmodern theory and shied away from being forthright. I wonder if the Don can instruct us in that, to maybe be just a little bit more courageous and bold.
Well, now that's a fascinating thought.
I don't, Perry, one of the things that we've been tracking is we've been watching mega pastors respond to the gay marriage issue. How will they talk about it? And I think how we go through phases on issues. I think the phase that we're in right now is these pastors that like to be politically correct, they're trying chin boogie. Well, everybody's on a journey. And of course, we believe in the Bible, and yet we want to make sure that people are loved. And they're speaking a lot, but they're not saying anything. And I just wonder if people are tired of that, and if they would just like some forthright speech from Christians, to lovingly, not like jerks, which is another way that we're supposed to be judging, speaking truth in love. I wonder if the world maybe, just maybe, isn't at the point where it's hungry for that.
Todd, I need to fly you out here, and we need to do a 13-week series on that subject. Because people are looking for hope. And are these mega pastors giving them hope without discipline? That's the issue I have. We're preaching a good message of hope, but are we doing it without boundaries? In other words, we're not giving the discipleship training that goes behind it, that comes with something more than Jesus is a nice guy and he's a dude and he's here to bless you.
Yeah, well, see, I actually, my perspective on it, Perry, is they actually do have a lot of rules, but they're man-made rules. I see it like this, because they've bought into, we've got to be nice, we don't want to judge anybody. So what do? They take out, say, the commandments of God. Let's lose those 2 tablets. Well, what do you have? You don't have a cross. You don't have anything that talks about God's holiness, his character, his nature, our situation, why Jesus had to die on a cross to redeem sinners. It's all gone. So what do you have to preach? You got to come up with something. So they take out God's rules and they replace them with their rules. And that is why you hear all of these sermons about how to be a better, how to do this job more, how to become more like this. And they give them man-made rules. I think that is more burdensome, and it's not nearly as nice as giving people, here's the bad news. There are laws of God. He's a righteous, holy judge, and he is going to pour out his wrath on lawbreakers. Have you broken the laws? You have? Then you're in big trouble. Here's the good news. And then we can talk about Jesus. But you remove that law, you've got nothing. So they replace it with their own laws, which are inevitably a burdensome yoke of do this, act like that, give like this, and speak like that. Otherwise, you won't be blessed. I think that is very cruel.
All right. Boy, this is great. Like I said, we got to do a series on this, you and I. Let me ask you this, back to the judging thing and just Donald Trump for a moment. I couldn't help but watch the interview last night and judge it, because he is saying, I think in recovery mode, because he accelerated the war on women during the debate, so he had to recover from that. So here's what he did. I'm for Planned Parenthood, but I'm against abortion. Right there, he forced us, people of faith, to accept him or reject him, because we are not discerning evil. And if we don't see Planned Parenthood as evil, then we would have a tendency to accept that narrative that he's putting out.
Statistically, there are over 8,000 non-Planned Parenthood medical centers that perform mammograms in this country, over 8,000. Do you know how many Planned Parenthoods actually give or sell mammograms? Do you know how many clinics there are?
Zero. Yeah.
None. What are the good things that they're doing? They're giving out abortifacient birth control. They're giving out some of the poorest manufactured prophylactic devices, I'm sorry, with the intention of failure rates so that they get more business with the high school teenagers. There are other services. They're not pro-life in any regard.
All right, so Donald Trump has set us up for a judgment. Do we accept his explanation or not?
Well, here's what I would. That's a great question. Now, here's what I would say. Now, I want to approach this as biblically as I can, and that's hard for me because I don't know about you, Perry, but I actually have the spiritual gift of nitpicking. So I want to set that aside for a moment. Maybe Donald Trump hasn't been schooled. Maybe he hasn't been educated about Planned Parenthood. Maybe he doesn't understand how they come up with their statistics. Maybe he doesn't understand their cash flow and their big revenue generator. Maybe he doesn't know the percentage of adoptions versus the percentage of abortions. So I will say at this moment, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's ignorant. But if it becomes clear that he's not ignorant, then I'm jumping on it.
Okay, got it. All right, I'll go with that. Well,
and I got to tell you, that's not my favorite thing to do. I mean, because Jesus kind of puts the reins on us and goes, well, just slow your roll a little bit. Watch how you judge. Give the benefit of the doubt. Don't be naive. Don't be taken. We're wise as serpents. We're gentle as doves. But we want to hope for the best as reasonably as we can without being taken advantage of.
Yeah, because I think the struggle we have is how do we reject without being seen as being legalistic?
Yeah, that's because I need to start viewing these people not as the political enemy. They can be that, if you will, but much bigger. They're lost. Hillary Clinton is as lost as a foreign driver without a GPS system. She's lost, and she is her profession of faith and her actions do not match. Barack Obama is a universalist. As hard as it is, I want to make sure that I'm seeing the picture of the war as opposed to the political skirmish. That's the bigger issue. I want them to be saved. So with a heart of compassion, I then talk to them about politics, and that's not easy.
Is it fair to judge the church ourselves because we bought the lie of separation of church and state, therefore we're staying out of politics?
Well, some are staying out of politics. Others are diving in, I think, head first. I think always what we need to remember, like individuals, get involved as much as you can. But when we announce that we are the church or that we are Christians, we have to be doing it a little bit more thoughtfully than just kind of, jumping straight into it, the fray. Right. Because if I'm representing Jesus, I want to make sure that the stumbling block to the gospel I represent doesn't become politics. I want the stumbling block to be the stumbling block, which is Jesus. You can't work your way to heaven. He is the way, the truth, the life. That needs to be my stumbling block. So as a Christian, wow, I am called to a challenging role to enter into the arena in which my compassion is demanded, which can be the political realm. But if I'm going to jump in as a follower of Jesus Christ, I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything to undermine my testimony and give people a reason to hate Jesus. And if you tell me that's easy, wow, then you're a better man or woman than I am.
No, I think you nailed it. That's exactly right. And I think we lose focus of that very thing. We make the stumbling block the issue of the day, not Jesus himself. And that is beautifully said, Todd, beautifully said. Well, you're a delight, man. What are you doing? What are you doing to stay out of jail?
Well, these days, apparently nothing. Wow, I'll tell you, the winds are blowing. The winds are blowing, Perry, and I would like to suggest we keep our eyes. Let's remember we're a holy, we're a set apart, we're a different people. 1 Peter 2, just like Israel was supposed to be a light to lighten the Gentiles, the church is supposed to be a light to the nation too.
Amen.
Let's remember who we are as the world comes crashing in.
Thank you, buddy. Love you, and look forward to having you back soon. Talk to you soon. Say hi to your staff for us. Okay. Todd Friel with Wretched TV, and you can see him weeknights right here on the Dove, prime time. Check it out. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.